Welcome to Eastern Oregon Bigfoot Stories, or Eastern Oregon BS. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have a Bigfoot story to share with us, or any story for that matter of the strange or unexplained, please email me at easternoregonbs@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We're going to kick this off today with several stories from one person. This is in Eastern Oregon, and his encounters escalate and they get more intense as he goes on. So make sure you stay tuned for his last story, which I think is the scariest, but they're all good. Then we're going to jump into a really creepy camping out under the stars story from Idaho. And that same person has a cattle mutilation story that happened on their place. They sent me pictures. They have a sheriff's report. So you're going to want to stick around till the end to hear this story. You will not want to miss it. It is crazy. This story was given to me. He entitles it "A Good Dog, a Good Friend, and a Good Horse." A person can feel pretty lucky if they have these things in their life. I have spent some mountain time with good friends, a good dog, and a good horse. Around the spring of 2008, I took my dog and a four-wheeler, packed some snacks, and headed up the creek. Eventually, we hit the snow line. Not just a little snow, but many feet, making passage difficult on the four-wheeler. This was anticipated and all part of the experience. It was a bright day, and all seemed to be calm as I turned the key and shut the engine off. Almost immediately, I heard, just off to my right and very close, tree knocking. This puzzled me. What could pick up a stick of decent size and whack a tree? And why? My wife's grandpa had told us stories of stolen meat from camp, footprints in the snow that were very large and resembled human feet wrapped in burlap sacks. One time while hunting, I asked her father if he believed those stories. He replied, "You have hunted long enough to know that this is the animal's home, and if the animals don't want to be found, they are very difficult to find." Enough said. Back to the tree knocking at hand. I was curious. I started in the direction of the sound. I'm packing. It's a habit from long ago. I stepped toward the noise. My dog gave me the look. She likes to chase things, but not today. That look made me reevaluate my choice to see what could smack a tree like that. A little bit of thinking made me wonder, maybe, just maybe, tree knocking is a warning. I held back. Curious, but smart today. Come fall, I snuck up the creek to get a jag of firewood. I say that I snuck because I'm not supposed to do that alone. That's why I took the dog. She's good company. She doesn't like the chainsaw and stays back while I'm sawing. This day would be different. While cutting into a log, I noticed a strong smell. Hard to describe the odor. Suddenly, there was a nose hitting my leg. It was my dog's. I continued sawing, and the dog stayed close. This was highly unusual because, like I said, my dog did not like chainsaws and would usually stay back while I was sawing. The rest of the time was pretty much uneventful. Later, I told my daughter what happened, and she informed me that I was probably in the close vicinity of a Sasquatch. I dismissed this. I have spent a lot of time in these areas and never seen any sign of that. Just stories from my wife's grandpa. Things seemed to escalate from there on. Later, my son and daughter-in-law were visiting from Wyoming. They wanted to go up the creek in the direction of the lake. Riding a horse is good for the soul, and it didn't take much persuasion. Soon, the broomtails were lined up on the trailer, and we were slinging leather. Later that day, as we pulled a leg over the horses, a fall storm was rolling in. You never know what one of these storms will bring. Nevertheless, we were prepared, or so we thought. As we strode along the trail, the snow began to fall increasingly heavy. No worries. This just made the ride more enjoyable. Snowflakes the size of silver dollars. When this occurs, sound is dampened. It is a glorious time on horseback in the mountains, taking in the scene from atop a good horse in the snow. The snow began to pile up deeper. We neared a familiar place where the trail splits. Our peace was shattered with smack, smack, smack. rock on rock sound. As I started to wonder what could make that kind of noise, there was more. Something started crying. I mean loud and awful too. Then smack, 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 rock on rock. More of that awful crying. My horse, whom I raised and trained, didn't even break stride, just kept going. The snow was falling so hard that seeing very far was difficult. Then something came close. I mean, close enough to hear it breathe. It moved air like a mad bull with a guttural roll at the end of expiration. Whatever it was must have weighed at least 1,000 pounds. We all strained to see, but nothing. My son asked if I was packing. He knew the answer, but wanted reassurance, I think. I replied, yes. My .357 was still holstered, my thumb pressed hard on the hammer. I was ready to make smoke if needed. However, I wondered if whatever could make that noise would even be injured with that gun. They asked me what was making these noises. I replied that nothing I knew could. I asked them what in Wyoming could make those noises. Same answer. This didn't stop. The breathing, the crying, the rocks. That breathing was so close, I felt like I could reach out and touch whatever it was. Not that you would do such a thing. The horses followed us along. I was in the lead. We could hear the sounds fading. The problem was, that was our only way out. We rode on for maybe an hour. The snow was up to the horses' chests now, and the ground was getting steep. We knew we had to go back the way we came. We talked, hoping that whatever was down there making that disturbance was gone now. Disappointment arrived soon enough as we approached that location again. Smack, smack, smack. Awful crying. Guttural breathing, walking right beside me. Thumb on hammer, ready to draw. This time, the wind, although not perceptible to us, was to my horse. She didn't want to proceed. This horse had once had a bear bolt out of the huckleberry bushes and strike her in the chest as it passed, and she didn't even balk. Today was different. She knew something was no good. A little kiss, kiss, cluck, cluck, and she moved a leg forward. She also knew that this was the way home. We rode right past the intense sounds just as before. As the sounds faded in the distance, we all breathed a sigh of relief. I had no idea what it was, but I wouldn't see one of these creatures until another day. I don't understand the crying, the rock smacking, or even why some creature walked us out. Was something out there giving birth? Or was something being killed by a rock? These are some of the thoughts that crossed my mind. Feel free to comment on all of this. From this day on, our encounters seemed to escalate in frequency. Not in intensity. Well, sort of. This has changed the way I view the forest. There is something out there. I don't think it's friendly either. Once you open your eyes to this, you start to see the tree breaks and signs. I hope you all get a good horse, a good friend, and a good dog. I will tell of further encounters if you are interested. These next two stories are from Sean and Laura. In August of 2020, we went camping at Yellow Jacket Lake, high in the Salmon Chalice National Forest of Idaho. The campground has about 8 campsites and are all tent campsites, as the road to get there is pretty steep and rough for any trailers. The campground had a few other campers there that night. After we set up camp and did some fishing, we went on a 4-wheeler ride around the area, looking for any game, as hunting season was coming up soon. While riding right in the middle of a trail or road we were on, we came across 2 sticks in the shape of an X right in the middle of the road. They were 3 to 4 feet long each. There were no trees in that area that they would have randomly fallen off. We did discuss in jest and made the comment that Bigfoot does that to keep you out of his territory. There was nothing out of the ordinary at the campsite. A high, clear lake with fish, frogs, and typical bugs. We did notice that there were not many birds or other wildlife in the camp, but it is close to 8,000 feet elevation. Our plan was to sleep in the bed of the truck. The fire and things had died down, so we crawled into the back of the truck and settled into our sleeping bags around 10 p.m. With all the other campers in tents, we could hear the sound of them rustling around for a while. We then heard what we thought were knocks on trees across the lake from our camp. There was no camping on that side of the lake, and you would have to boat or hike all the way around the lake to get there and know that there were no other people over there at that time. We looked at the stars for a while. It was a clear night. We commented to each other how it was eerily silent. No wind, no birds, no crickets or frogs, just dead silence. Apparently, we both drifted off shortly after that. Not exactly sure how long we had been asleep when we heard a large tree cracking and popping like it was being pushed over. By the sound of the tree breaking, you could tell it was not a dead tree. It then hit with a loud thump that rattled through the campground. As we opened our eyes and looking up at the sky, we could see what looked like 100 small dark birds flying over. Our first thought was that the sound had scared them out of the trees, but they didn't make any sound as they flew. Then it seemed there were many more, and they didn't fly like birds. We noticed that there was something directly above us that these things were flying into. It was the shape of a circle. You could see the outline perfectly, and it was a translucent color, like out of focus, kind of like in the movie Predator. It was above the top of the trees that were on each side of us and large enough to cover the sky directly above us. All of the bird-shaped things were flying below it, and then they and it just disappeared. We probably looked at it for a good 10 seconds before it vanished. It did not close or anything. It and the birds were just gone. We are not sure what it was. All we can tell you is what we observed and that we could see an outline of a circle in the sky where these things disappeared. We will let you, as the readers or listeners, form your own opinion. As we lay there trying to figure out what we heard and saw, we commented as to why no one else in the campground even made a sound, which was odd, as it was really loud and close where the tree fell. And with everyone in tents, we could not believe no one yelled or came out of their tents. It made us feel anxious and a bit freaked out about what we had heard and seen, and we wondered why no one else woke up or made a sound. We laid there for a long time listening, and it was just silent. After a restless sleep, the next morning, we got up, and after a quick coffee, we headed off the mountain. We regret that we did not go look for the fallen tree, but we think we just felt like we wanted to get home. We have been back there one more time, and there was no one around the lake or in the campground. We ate a quick lunch off our four-wheeler, but felt very uneasy and didn't stick around long. Even though we did not actually see a Bigfoot, we did hear and see something that makes us wonder what actually went on at the lake that night. Since this happened to us, we have heard some other accounts of Bigfoot encounters that have similarities to our own, and we wonder if others out there also have similar stories to tell. Thank you for listening. This next story has some details and pictures that are somewhat graphic, so I wanted to give you a heads up in case there are young ears listening or anyone that's sensitive to that. We are going to be talking about a cattle mutilation. Here we go. I'd like to preface this story with the following information that was relayed by the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office on Facebook on October 2nd, 2022. We live about 25 miles west from where this report of an animal mutilation was taken by the Sheriff's Office. This information will play into the story as to why we contacted the sheriff after this event happened to us. I will attach photos of the sheriff's comments and of the cattle mutilation that happened to us. In all transparency, this was not our cow. However, we were stewards of the small herd when this occurred, as the neighbor rents our pasture out along with the other property behind us. Our story began early in the morning on December 2nd, 2022. We can see the pasture and the cows from our kitchen window. The cows were on the farm property behind us, and they were kept behind an electric fence. As we were having coffee, we were counting the cows as was normal to make sure that they had not got out and wandered off in the night. As we counted, we took our time and counted again, as there are small dips and rises, and sometimes you don't see them all at once, but typically they will all show up. But this morning we were missing one. There are a lot of lava rocks and small hills, so you're not able to just look across a flat pasture. We decided we'd walk out to go check. We had a mixed breed dog at the time named Tucker that would always go out with us. As soon as the cows saw us entering the pasture, they all came quickly toward us, which was really odd. We were still missing one cow. I started walking to the left side through the middle of the area, and my wife and dog started up the road, which followed along the right side just outside the fence. The dog that we had was about 1 year old, so still very puppy-like. He would typically just run all over exploring. He was walking ahead of her on the farm road when all of a sudden he stopped dead in his tracks. Hair stood up on his neck and he turned around and headed for home. She hollered, "Tucker!" at him. He would stop, turn, and look, then briskly walk off again towards the house. This was not like him at all. He always comes when he is called and always wants to be with us. My wife decided to go figure out what was wrong with him, so she turned around and headed back towards the house when she saw off the side of the road about 10 feet in a small dip in the terrain, the dead cow. She yelled at me, "The cow's here and down." She did say she was not sure how she had missed seeing it when she walked past the first time. This was one of our older calves, 2nd year old, I'm guessing. I headed over to where she was and found the calf laying on its side. I knew instantly that this was odd. At the bottom of the calf's jaw was a gaping hole. The hide and all tissue and outer skin along with the tongue were missing, as well as the upper lip that had been skinned off as if it had been cut with a knife. You can see this in the pictures. I rolled the head over, which revealed more. There was a small amount of blood drainage on the underside of the ground, but not much. Other than that, there was no other signs of trauma to this calf. There was a new skiff of snow covering the calf and ground. We looked, but there were no tracks either from man or predators anywhere to be found. There is only one road that comes into the area behind our house. It has trail cameras and alarms. Past the field is about 30 miles of desert. There is no other access to the area. If anyone had come out during the night, we would have known. The farmer that owns the small herd was out of town and would not be back for several days, but I did let him know that there was an incident and a calf was dead. We decided to put a trail camera on the calf just to see what animals would come in. We have had cows killed by coyotes in the past, and we know that within a couple of days, they will devour the entire carcass. Plus, with it being so close to the house, we thought we'd like to know what is out there. Every day, we would go out and check, and no animals, not even the birds, touched the carcass. After about 11 days, we finally decided to take the camera down. The following morning, after the camera had been down, we went out and checked on the cows, and something had started to eat on the carcass, which was so weird, almost like they waited for the camera to be gone. We put the camera back up that day and did catch images of a pack of coyotes eating the dead calf. That cow had laid there for like 12 days and had not been touched. After the holidays in January, I started thinking about a post that I had seen on Facebook regarding reports of an animal mutilation in Lincoln County, which, as stated earlier, was in our area. I decided to stop by the local Fish and Game office. I spoke with the lady at the desk, and she had 2 biologists that were in the office come out and talk to me. I showed them the pictures, and both of them were taken aback and confirmed that no animal or predators that they knew of would have done that. I then decided to go talk to the Lincoln County Sheriff that had posted the cattle mutilation in October. He He was very willing to talk to me. In looking at my pictures, he did state that it was very similar to the report and investigation that they had been given in the area, and that he really wanted to try and figure out what could be doing this. He did tell me that if we ever have it happen again, to immediately let him know, and he would bring in a team to do an analysis and research on the county dime. As of today, we have had no other incidents. That's about all the story, and there has been no conclusion to what happened here to this calf. I have shared photos, and if you can, you're welcome to share them. Thank you, Sean. That's it for today, but we'll catch you on our next episode of Eastern Oregon BS.